Call this regular town board meeting to order on June 9th, 2020. This is a regular monthly Clinton Town Board meeting being held today via teleconferencing using Zoom with a YouTube live stream to the public. This is due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 emergency state and federal bans on large meetings or gatherings, and pursuant to Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 202.1 issued on March 12, 2020, suspending the open meetings law. There is no audience participation. Members of the public may view the board meeting as it is live streamed on the town board video page on the Clinton website. We have to do roll call first. Supervisor Oberly here, Councilman Giuliano.
Here.
Councilman Witten.
Here.
Councilman Michael. Dean.
You got to unmute, Dean.
You're muted.
I thought you guys liked me that way.
Okay, I guess you're here now. Councilwoman Cunningham.
Here.
And Town Clerk Mackin.
Here.
Okay, we're gonna go now forward and approve the minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the May 12th, 2020 regular town board meeting. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Okay. We're gonna have to do a roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Now we go into the supervisor's comments. It's a whole potpourri of things. The 4th of July holiday is on Saturday, and the town hall has all the offices closed. The library will also be closed. An important change is the town recycling center operated by Well Sanitation will be closed on July 4th. They don't do it often, but this time they did it. Clinton Highway Superintendent Todd Martin is alerting the community that Pumpkin Lane from Shadblow Lane to the Taconic State Parkway will have road resurfacing starting on Monday, June 29, and ending Friday, July 3rd. Please make changes to your travel plans since there can be road closures as resurfacing is being done. Other roads will be done over the summer, but have not been scheduled yet. The town just moved into phase 2 today. There will be no change from the current mode of town operation. We are installing the proper plastic shielding to protect the town staff and obtaining COVID-19 virus PPE and cleaning supplies to minimize everyone's exposure to the virus. As you are aware, the purchase of PPE and virus cleaning supplies are not easily obtained. We hope to have some in-person activity by the end of June. In the meanwhile, continue to use the phone, fax, emails, the Dropbox on the porch of the town hall to get business transacted. Some of the phase 2 changes are the opening of hair cutting, outside dining at restaurants, worship services up to 25% capacity, graduation and parking areas, or drive-in movies, and others. I'm not reading the full list. Thanks are given to the highway crew for the quick and efficient removal of the 4 large maple trees at the town hall complex alongside the driveway. These trees were dying with large branches falling in the area of parked cars and where residents would walk. Their work improved the safety of the town's property and saved taxpayers' costs. They will be replaced in the future. Thanks again for a job well done. The New York State Department of Taxation and Finance certified that the town's equalization rate remains at 100% for 2020. This means that the properties assessed and property value are the same. Thanks are given to our assessor, Teresa Stegner, for her efforts in keeping the equalization rate at 100%. This is a 2020 census reminder. You should have completed your 2020 census by now. The data for the town of Clinton on June 2 shows 58.2% of the households have registered. The Dutchess County self-response rate is in fairly good shape. The national percentage is 60.5, while the state percentage is 55.6, and Dutchess percentage is 59.1. This should be 100% by now. In an effort to get 100% reservation, the census staff is beginning limited field operations and is dropping off questionnaire packages at front doors of households in our area. People can fill out their census online at www.my2020census.gov. They can also do it over the phone by calling 844-330-2020 for English and 844-468-2020 for Spanish. They can request the census form if one hasn't been dropped off already. Fill it out and then mail it back. Garbage rate increase. Well, sanitation has increased the rates as follows. 1 to 13 gallon bag to $3, that's an increase of $1. 14 to 33 gallon bag to $5, it was a $1 increase. The 34 to 55 gallon bag to $15, that's a $10 increase. They have not increased their prices for many years. Okay, transmission line information. We got just this afternoon an email concerning the power line transmission stuff. They're doing geothermal work is complete. We continue to advance geophysical survey work, which is non-invasive and consists of small crews walking sections of the right-of-way with equipment. This work is being done by Terracon, the same contractor as the geotech work. This will last for several weeks in the transmission corridor in all the other towns in Clinton. Permitting, we'll continue to work through the regulatory Article 7 process, and they have some meetings that were scheduled. Landowner field meetings, we have started conducting and will continue scheduling field meetings with adjacent landowners and our residents. Please contact them if you know of anyone in your community that would be interested in such a visit. We will, of course, adhere to all COVID-19 health and safety precautions. The other one is let's see, they sent a letter of project updates to all the abutting property owners last week. So that's what's happening there. So that's the end of this. Okay, so next thing is old business, none. Now we start new business, and Nancy's gonna have a big run here. So start off, Nancy.
New business, okay. If you've ridden by any of our parks, you may see that we have big posted signs that basically talk about the new rules for COVID-19. This is a resolution to make them official, and I would like to have the town board approve the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approve Resolution 20 of 2020 entitled Town of Clinton Rules for Use of Rec Parks During COVID-19 Closures.
Is there a second?
Giuliano second.
Okay, ready for a roll call vote or any discussion? Okay, Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Next one.
All right, the next one is actually dealing with the activities in the park as well. Again, they're affected by the COVID-19. So I'd like to, and they involve all the activities. So I'd like to make a resolution, ask the town board to approve the following resolution. That be it resolved that the town board approve Resolution 21 of 2020 to resolve the resolution canceling swimming, summer camp, pavilion rentals due to COVID-19. However, I will add that we have gate guards and we have a
Lifeguard.
that lifeguard, thank you, a lifeguard at the water to make sure that everyone stays safe. We have been having the water tested by the county to make sure that everything is correct. And if we get the go-ahead in a reasonable period of time, we may consider opening the park for swimming only. But that will be a decision made later on. So, second to that?
I
Second.
need a second.
Dean Michael, second.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote unless somebody has some discussion. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Next
In
one.
addition, okay, additional resolution to be made is the official opening and closing of the park itself. The hours are somewhat different than they've been in the past, again, due to COVID-19. So I ask that like to make ask the town board to approve resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the Franmark Park hours to be operated from May 28th through October 1st from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily, open 7 days a week for the park residents with IDs and stickers as required.
Okay, so second.
Michael, second. Dean Michael, second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, then we'll go through a roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Next one.
Chris is handling this one.
Oh,
Okay. So the next resolution is about the 284 agreement to approve that with our highway department. There's 3 main projects that are going on. I'm sorry, 4 main projects that are going on here. We have Falk Hill Road to start the commencing on Falk Hill Road from Rusky Lane, leading to the town line, a distance of about 1.19 miles, shall be expanded not over the sum of $19,330.13. That's to Oil and Stone. Then we have Hibernia Road, on the road commencing at Hibernia Road from the town line and leading 25 feet from the Conic State Parkway, a distance of approximately 0.4 miles, with a cost of not to exceed $30,000. That's blacktopping. Then we have Pumpkin Lane, from starting on the road commencing at Electronics Lane and leading to approximately 25 feet from the Taconic State Parkway, approximately 1.5 miles, not to exceed the sum of $141,954. That's adding blacktop. And then we have on Pumpkin Lane, from Pumpkin Lane at Chableau Lane and leading to Maple Lane, a distance of approximately half a mile, with the sum of not to be beyond $84,850. And that's going to be adding new blacktop on the surface on that. So basically, be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number 22 of 2020, the agreement to spend highway funds, which is the 284 agreement.
is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Either one.
Okay, any further discussion? Roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, the next one is approve increase in garbage rates. I told you earlier under supervisor comments about the changes that were being requested. So this is the motion to approve that. I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves the increase in the rates for bag garbage disposal at the town transfer station operated by Wells Sanitation effective July 1st, 2020. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I just want to say, through when we had when Welsh kind of held off with the COVID there coming in, conversations with them directly on that. Our rates haven't changed, I think, since 2015 was the last contract on that. So I just want to make everyone aware again, and I think Ray even said it, that these rates haven't been increased since then. So it's from what I understand, speaking to them, it's additional coverages that they got to, extra precautions that they got to use, as well as operating costs. We haven't sat down with them directly and reworked a contract. These were prices that they came up, but in order for them to keep going currently at the town, from my conversations with Welsh.
Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, now we're at Dan's Camera Power Plant.
So I'm just going to read a little thing to explain what this is. Most of you know it, but for those watching at home, Danskamer Energy owns an existing 64-year-old power plant on the Hudson River in the town of Newburgh. The existing plant operates only a handful of days of the year as a peaker facility. Danskamer is proposing to build a new 550 megawatt gas-fired plant next to the existing facility, and it would be a baseload facility running nearly all the time. Power from a new Danskamer plant is not needed to replace Indian Point when its generating units retire. Every 2 years, New York ISO conducts a reliability needs assessment, which assesses whether adequate generation and transmission resources exist to ensure the reliability of New York's bulk power system. In its most recent report, New York ISO concluded that even with Indian Point's retirement, there will be no reliability concerns for New York's electric system over at least the next 10 years without a new Danskamer plant. And given the recent very large increase in proposed renewable energy projects as a result of the adoption of the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, future generation needs are expected to be met by renewable resources supported by energy storage. The new Danskamer plant will emit far more air pollution than the existing plant. Given the dramatic increase in operating hours, harmful air pollutants that threaten public health and contribute to climate change will increase significantly, which Danskamer itself admits in its own regulatory filings. These pollutants include VOCs, nitrogen oxide, as well as greenhouse gas emissions, which are projected to increase by more than 4,000%. In April, the American Lung Association published their State of the Air 2020. This report gave the Hudson Valley air quality a D average rating, with many counties ranking among the worst in the state. Air pollution particularly aggravates chronic diseases, including asthma, while extended exposure reduces life expectancy. Given the worrying public health issues caused by the region's existing pollution, building a new power plant that will exponentially increase annual emissions is a step backward. So given all of that, many local organizations have joined together to stop the approval of this plant. Those include Scenic Hudson, Riverkeeper, Hudson River Sloop Clearwater, and the Sierra Club. And when I first reached out to the board about this, 15 communities had already passed resolutions in opposition to the plant. That number is now at 19, the latest one being the city of Hudson. And I'm hoping that the town of Clinton becomes the 20th community in the region to oppose the plant. So with all that being said, I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number 23 of 2020, opposing the construction of a new Danskamer power plant on the Hudson River.
Okay, is there a second? Nope, anybody second? Then I'll second.
Yeah, second.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion?
We need to talk about it.
So, Nancy, if did you want to start? I didn't want to step over you.
Well, I have mixed feeling about this. I mean, it's still, there's still pollution. It's going to take, what, a couple of years to build it. What kind of return do we get in the Hudson Valley for energy? Okay, it seems like everything is directed down to New York City and south, and I'm just wondering, Michael, is there any numbers that say we have more of a return here in the Hudson Valley?
Well,
I'm not clear on, we've got more power lines going through again for the benefit of south of here. I'm a little conflicted with what this is going to do.
well, you're not alone. A lot of people can't figure out what the benefit is of building this plant. We already have 2 new plants that have been built in this area in the last few years. And with New York ISO telling us that this power is not needed to stabilize our grid over the next decade, especially with more renewable energy coming online, I don't know why it's needed, except to make money for dance camera.
Yeah.
And it's going to increase pollution, which honestly, I understand. I know it was brought up that it might increase electricity rates. I don't know how it would increase electricity rates if we didn't build a plant that we don't need. But I think on the other side of that ledger is all of the health problems that come along with the pollution, and that will last over the next 3 decades, 4 decades. I think for the cost of a couple of cents in an electricity bill, which I don't even see why that would happen with all the renewable energy. We know with community choice aggregation and community solar, our electricity bills have been going down. So I don't see why they need to build this plant, and I'm with the 19 other communities that have spoken out against it.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the reason that they'll go up is that the renewable energies are not cost efficient and not less expensive. In fact, our community aggregation rate is more than what Central Hudson's charging right now. It may be a fixed fee, so if rates do go up, like if we had that micro burst like we had a few years back, then yeah, that would definitely save us money. But the big reason that plant itself will not benefit us directly in that the electric that comes from that will be directed right down towards Indian Point and connect onto their power lines down to the city. But what that does do for us directly is it stops the need for extra power lines to go through our town, because the more power that we're having to bring from upstate to downstate means that they're going to need more lines that go through our town. So indirectly, yes, it does affect us and it does benefit us by not having to have extra power lines, and the potential where we started with the no monster power line whole conversation was to have an extra line going through our town. So, the other thing is somebody turned me on to Michael Moore's latest video. I think it's called the human Earth or something like that. And I'm not a big Michael Moore fan, but it basically talked about a lot of the lies that go on with the misconceptions of renewable energy and some of the damages that the things like biofuel and biomass are really causing. And so looking at that, you gotta wonder what we're doing here. The mere fact is we're going to need energy. There may be more houses that have solar panels. That's great. I don't begrudge that. But it's these sources, until we have a battery backup where we can have on-demand electric, we're always going to need some type of a fossil fuel, unfortunate plant. And by these plants staying in a neutral position actually cause more waste and more pollutants than actually running on a full-time basis. And that was one of the things that came out in Michael Moore's documentary. So I'm opposed to stopping them solely for the fact that I think we need the plant for just even protecting our town's rural character, not having the extra power lines coming through it.
That's an interesting. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
No, go, Chris. You please.
It just, that's an interesting point that I didn't think about, was that Dean brought up, the fact, what is the nature of, we kind of held them at bay for a little bit. They're obviously putting new lines coming through our town. What is, what is the probability of them to do something more down the road?
It's always a possibility.
Yeah, I mean,
Right now, they're just replacing what's already there. They're not adding that extra line. But originally, when they came in 8 years ago or 6 years ago, their initial proposals was putting a third line
I remember that.
down the lane. So, you know, we've shrunk it down for the fact that we fought and said that you don't need the extra electric. So now they're just upgrading what's already there.
all of that is well and good, but I'm going to trust New York ISO in their report that says that once Indian Point leaves, we will not need this new power plant over the next decade. That's the projections they can make because of the two new power plants that have already been built and all of the renewable energy that is coming online. Now, Dean is correct. We will need battery backup power. Sure, there will always be some sort of fossil fuel when the sun goes down and the wind isn't blowing. But as long as we continue to build renewable energy, which we have been doing during the days, we should be good, and just use these power plants in the evenings. And so our reliance on all of these plants is going to shrink over time. So this new one is not necessary.
Well, I mean, just supply and demand. If we have less supply, it means the price of electric is going to go up. So if we're restricting ourselves to these supplies that are intermittent, we're going to pay more for electric.
This is Supervisor Oberly, just so y'all know who it is. When you put a new plant online, that cost is distributed across all ratepayers. So your electric charge bill is going to go up regardless. They're going to build it. The other question is, why have a plant sitting right next door only running 5% of the time, and then you want to build a brand new one also? Why don't you take the 5%er and make it run full time and save the cost of buying a new plant?
Well, I'm sure they're not efficient at the 5% to begin with. I mean, that was an old plant that needed the total to be, you know, it was shut down because of how bad it was before. So, you know, it needed to be totally updated.
It was shut down because of Hurricane Sandy.
The flood.
With the flood, but it was an old coal burner. It wasn't efficient. It was very pollutant. You know, they had oil tankers delivering oil to some of the burners.
But today it's running under gas from Iroquois gas line. It's a pipeline that goes under the Hudson River to it.
Yep.
I'm sure that's will be feeding the other place. But again, why run one 5% at a time and the other one 100%? And you got to buy all the equipment, all the people, everything else, the insurance and everything else for a new plant when you have one sitting there basically doing nothing. Makes no sense.
And it's a good point that the construction of the plant affects all ratepayers across the state. And when Dean brings up that this power is going to be benefiting New York City and not us, our rates would go up by building it to benefit New York City, and we get the pollution on top of it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
I mean, is that a definite thing that it would go up because of?
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, the cost of it goes to ratepayers.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, you said how many towns were in the area that were supporting?
You said 19.
There are 19 now.
But how many did anyone publicly come against it? Out of curiosity, if there's numbers.
I don't know. I haven't heard of it. I mean, I did a whole bunch of searches for news articles so that I could read the stories on the towns that did approve it. I didn't see any that said that they were against it. I think they probably just didn't take it up if they were against it, I suppose.
Sure. I mean, the town that it's being proposed in didn't oppose it.
Well, a whole bunch of environmental groups in that town are opposing it.
Clearwater goes up and down the whole Hudson, so.
The unfortunate thing is the local government and school districts want it. They need the taxes that it generates.
Well, the school district was severely hurt when it closed down. The state had to come in and throw in a couple extra $1 million to bail out the school from the loss of tax revenue.
Yeah.
So the jobs, the tax revenue, those all do help our local economy.
The operation jobs are very few people in the plant. It's just a little bit of the construction time, half a year or something, then it's gone.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Everyone have a piece?
Nope.
Okay, then we'll vote. Roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano.
Yes, he has to make the motion first, doesn't he?
I did make the motion.
He did.
Yeah,
I've already seconded.
I have a brain freeze here. Okay,
Giuliano.
Well, I would like to, before we make a vote on it, I would like to do a little more research on this before coming up, if that's possible. But I watched the video. I do agree with Dean. I do agree that with Dean, but I also do agree the nature of the environmental source on it. But I think we're a little slow on the battery stuff coming in, and the solar's been moving forward in a way. I'm not 100% sold either way, but right now I do see the potential for the lines that I'd like to find out what the probability of having other lines come in to this town. That's the one thing I never even thought about. I thought we were set with these lines coming down
There is no discussion on more lines coming through there.
right now. Yeah, but I mean,
I can't present something for 15 years from now. I mean, this thing's been in operation since what, 2013?
yeah, but the only thing that's the difference right now is that Indian Point's shutting down. So they say right now, and my concern is I know what we went through, and the lines aren't that far from me on the other side of the road over here. What would that impact on the lines that affect us personally? And then my concern is when these bigger lines go on in our towns coming up for the compensation for something like this, there is radiation from these lines. That's something that does affect us, and I didn't even really give that much thought.
Yeah, I mean, when she came and talked about the new power lines, because there's so much power going through it, they
Yeah, I
actually
remember.
hum and make a lot of noise as well.
Now that it may come down with more people doing solar, which I see a lot of my clients are going solar, which is a great thing on their homes, and people are using LED lights and stuff like that, and more energy efficient stuff. We may see less need. I mean, that's ultimately the goal, is if people become more self-sufficient.
We were
But
at roll call. We had discussion earlier. So are you going to vote or not?
At this point, I'm
Yes,
abstaining
no.
from. I'm abstaining from voting.
Okay. Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
No.
Cunningham,
aye.
motion carried.
To add on to it, if anybody wants to sign up for community solar, HudsonValleyCommunityPower.com sends $50 to a fund for Clinton.
Yeah. Okay, next item then is approved tax cert.
So this is a property over on Rimp Road. It was a foreclosure. The property had been pretty dilapidated at the time that the people purchased it. So it is a significant reduction in taxes of $400,000 reduction. But over time, as the property gets improved, I'm sure Teresa will raise the taxes on the property. So I make a resolution. Be it resolved, the town board approves resolution number 24 of 2020, authorizing the town attorney of the town of Clinton to enter into stipulation within the attorney for petitioner, the terms of which are set forth in the attached stipulation number of 2019-52989, and hereby authorize the attorney for the town, Shane Egan Esquire, to sign said stipulation on behalf of the town. Is there a second?
Giuliano second.
Either one.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, next one is the online auction contract. I just want to read a little bit about it so you know what it's about. The town will have highway equipment declared surplus later this year. In order to get a better price for the surplus items, an online auction house generally gets a better price than just a yard sale. Another auction house will be considered later when we get their contract for review, and obviously we use the best deal, but just to keep it going so we don't lose it. So I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number 25 of 2020, a contract between the town of Clinton and Auctions International Incorporated for the sale of government vehicles, machinery, equipment, and other surplus assets online auction. Is there a second?
T. Michael, second. So
Okay.
I got a question. I mean, this company usually goes and partners with AAA auctions there in Pleasant Valley. Why wouldn't we just go directly to?
That's the other company we're considering to.
Well, I mean, this company actually usually partners with them because they are the local auction house to give it extra exposure. I mean, we'd be just better off going to them directly.
Well, that's what Todd's gonna go and get. He just gave me this one to start.
I mean, as long as we don't have a limitation on using other houses, I mean, it's not a problem. I'm just wondering.
Yeah. Okay, any further discussion?
Is there a better, do we know what the percentage rates are that they get off this? Is one better than the other?
Well, we're waiting for the one from Pleasant Valley to get the other contract, so.
Yeah, usually they have it as an add-on to the buyer's premium.
Right.
So it's not
The
costing
buyer
us,
pays.
it's not costing us any difference, but you know, if it's 20% versus another guy's 15%, I mean, you know, we're benefiting the buyer.
Yeah,
I'd like to add also, just for the benefit of people that are watching, that we do this every year, and in a lot of instances, the equipment, I mean, we've just purchased 2 trucks. We're trying to replenish a lot of our equipment in the highway department, which is needed. Some of this equipment is still operational, but it doesn't measure up to what we need to make this town safe and to repeatedly use it. So we have opportunities to put this out for bid where other people can refurbish it, use it, and get their money back, but it really is a necessary thing. And it's a benefit because we can take the proceeds and put them back into the town.
okay. Any more discussion? Okay, let's vote. Overly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, now we go into resignations and appointments. Nancy?
Okay, yes, as I said earlier, we are keeping the parks, Grand Mark Park, somewhat operational with a lot of restrictions. In order to do that, we've had to hire the summer help, which means gate guards and lifeguards. So this resolution is to pass to make them legal. We already have them in place. So I would like to ask the town board to approve the following. Be it resolved that the town board approve resolution 26 of 2020, appointing the summer recreation employees.
Is there a
And
second?
that list is on the web.
T. Michael, second.
Okay, further discussion? Roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham,
Aye.
motion carried. Okay, the next one.
And hopefully the last one for me, I'm getting worse. The last one is to appoint Damian Potts in the highway department to a full-time status. So I'd like to ask the town board to approve Damian Potts as a full-time highway laborer effective May 1st, 2020 for 40 hours per week at the rate of $17.10 per hour with CSEA benefits.
Is there a second?
Giuliano, second.
Okay, further discussion? All, okay, roll call vote. Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next one is approval of warrants.
Make a motion, be approved, the town board approved the June 9th, 2020 general fund warrant vouchers number 234 through 277, totaling $74,849.87. And the June 9th, 2020 Highway Fund warrant vouchers number 110 through 142, $141, $754.37. Is there a second?
Giuliano, second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, then we'll do roll call. Overly, aye. Giuliano.
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next one is to move funds. This is to balance the accounts because they're never precise. So sometimes they go over a little on one and under on another. So we've got to move things around. I make a motion that the town board approves the following resolution. Be it resolved that the town board approves resolution number 27 of 2020, a motion to move funds at the June 9th, 2020 town board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Giuliano, second.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano.
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is a May supervisors report, how to think. I make a motion that the town board approves the May 2020 supervisors report. Is there a second?
Dean Michael, second.
Any action and discussion rather? Okay, roll call. Oberly, aye. Giuliano.
Aye.
Witten.
Aye.
Michael.
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried. Is there any other business before the town?
Yes, I
Well,
have some.
okay, well, go ahead, Nancy. I'll go after you.
We still have not finalized in the respect of talking about the contract for the highway department. And as we're working through appointments, as we're working through salaries, as we're working through a lot of the detail in the personnel area, we are stuck in the old contract, which does not necessarily reflect what this new contract says, okay? And I just feel like we're dragging our feet. I know Dean has one more meeting tomorrow, but this is long overdue. And I think by the next meeting, if not before, this has to be approved because we're just getting into all kinds of problems. And Ray, you basically are the one that's kind of holding it up. I think we all agree this needs to be done.
So we fixed the issue that Ray had, and the meeting tomorrow is nothing more than to finalize the rates of pay for the MEOs, since it wasn't really finalized before because we don't have that position. But figured if we're going to delay it, we've already delayed it anyway, so might as well sit down. So I'm sitting down with the union and the attorney, and we'll iron out the final labor rates for the MEOs, and then the thing should be done. I mean, that's just got to be done.
Something that I think we need to also talk about is getting the meetings, at least we can do the town meetings because we get them all visualized over television, as well as I'm sure there's a way we can work out with YouTube Live back, since we can be within the 10 members within the town hall to have these meetings in person again. I think it's really important as far as that goes. Also, I think we need to start getting back on track as other towns are starting to get some of their other agenda items moving forward that I've been noticing as things have been opening up. We still have to deal with the short-term rental, which I have a lot of people that have been coming up to me regarding and asking what's going on as far as the agricultural events. We put them on hold through this COVID-19, but I don't see why we can't get in these laws ironed out. We're very close on finishing both of them. We've had multiple public hearings and options on there. We're going to be well into the summer at this point, and some people want to know that they have some sort of protections as things start opening up as well. So I think we need to, I would really like to push for the next meeting in person at this point.
There are some, this is Ray Oberly, there are some operational problems that we still have not resolved that we got to figure out how to do as to how do we do, allow people to come in if we're going to have open live meetings, how we're going to cover it with Zoom, with handling the variety of people that may be participating in these local law public hearings. That is a challenge that is not trivially solved. So, I mean, it's not that we're not trying to do it. There are limitations.
Well, I think he's saying that we don't need Zoom, that we should just do it as we always did. Most of our town board meetings never had more than 10, even in, you know, most of the time anyway.
And people are still able to see the same way through Zoom. Either we can go between our live
We do our
televised,
live telecast.
or if we're worried about people that don't have cable and they're getting used to using Zoom with YouTube Live, I'm sure we'll be able to stream it live through YouTube as well as the cable version of this. I think there's a huge value coming in here. I mean, we've been limiting the amount of what we've been handling on the meetings. At this point, everything's starting to open up a little bit. From what I understand, some of the other towns are starting to get on with some normalcy or normal conversations about other things that are going on here. We've been trying to keep them very simple. But I think we'll be in at least phase 3 by the next meeting, if not, maybe even close to phase 4 if everything stays on track here.
At phase 4 was supposed to be, this overly again, phase 4, we should be able to be open, which will probably be early July sometime. But
Well, that's what he's saying. By the next meeting, we should be close to phase 4.
should be, but that's what the numbers are, and the governor says what we're at. But we still got a lot of work to do to have all the.
Yeah, but what's happening though that I see here, Ray, is, you know, there's a lot of conversations that we're not having, and we're skating through, you know, just having some of this, you know, I don't want to say basic stuff, because it's not basic. All the stuff that Nancy's been working on has been very time consuming, and she's been putting a lot of effort to, and some of the other stuff that's going on. There's other issues in the town that we should be able to have discussions. Either A, we start even having these discussions and find a way to deal with these other 2 laws, some of the other issues that are going on in the town, have meetings on, either through Zoom or in person. I think it's time that we start looking forward rather than waiting later. You know, we should have had some of the short-term rental and the events figured out a long time ago, and people are getting antsy. I have a lot of people contacting me.
I would say that I agree with all that, except that, I mean, I see Ray's point. We have to have the public hearing before we can have the vote on those, because the public hearings were left open. And so
No, I understand that. We got to close them. They were left open. I understand.
Yeah, so we can't do that yet. And so in July, if we're in phase 4, we'll be able to have those public hearings and hopefully move forward. Because Lord knows I'd love to get short-term rentals off my plate. But I had 2, if we're done with that, I have 2 really very quick things. The library is now doing curbside pickup. So if you want library books, you can go online or call them. And I wanted to give a thank you to the American Legion Rhinebeck Montgomery Post number 429, as they have done for many years. On Memorial Day, they had volunteers come out to all 3 of the cemeteries that we now own and put flags at all the veteran cemeteries. And I just wanted to extend a thank you to them.
Yeah, thank you. I knew somebody.
Much appreciated.
Didn't know who. Okay, we all done? Okay,
Yep.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting. Roll call, Oberly, aye. Giuliano,
Aye.
Witten,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
Cunningham.
Aye.
Motion carried, we're adjourned. So the next meeting will be the 2nd Tuesday in July. And we'll see where we are with opening up the town board meetings at that time. Don't know at this moment. So that's it.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks.
Bye.